Hello again, students. So I'm back to record part two of the requirements for your Geometry Sketchpad lesson and video. Now, I abruptly finished the last video and I want to explain why. When you go to record your Geometry Sketchpad lesson or activity, you're going to do so using Screencast-O-Matic online software. It's free, but here's the catch. Your videos have to remain 15 minutes or less. You're going to have no problem doing that. I, however, sometimes do, and so as a result, I have to record a couple videos. In a lot of ways, I think that that's a good thing, though, from an educational standpoint, because students' attention span with a video, especially if there's a lot of information in it, they need a break. So the 15 minutes actually helps to break up what could be a longer instructional video. At any rate, we went all through the grading rubric. You realize, again, just as a recap, that you can earn up to 59 points on this project, which counts as a test grade. 20 of that you can receive just by turning in those three elements, which include the lesson plan, the video uploaded to YouTube, and the one-page research reflection, just by handing them in on time and having the actual items that are required there. What are those actual requirements? Well, that's what we're going to talk about next. What probably has the most detail to it is this lesson plan, which is number one. And you see that there's A through H that you need to include. These are all on the template for the lesson plan, and I'm going to walk you through that. But here's what those elements are that you're going to see when I go through the template. You have to have a learning target or student outcomes identified, Common Core State Standard of Math, at least one, academic language. What is the key vocabulary the students need to know and be familiar with in the lesson? What are student needs, particular needs for diverse learners? Of course, you're just creating something that's arbitrary. So I want you to think about potential needs that might exist in your class and how you would accommodate them. Yes, you're going to make them up, but this is a good opportunity for you to be forward thinking. Any materials like worksheets that you would use within the lesson need to be attached, or if you're giving anything out for homework as an assessment to reinforce learning, those would also need to be attached. Language function. You're going to wonder what the heck this is. Don't worry about it. We're going to talk about it more in just a moment. Then you have your actual plan for instruction. Every plan for instruction has three main pieces. The before piece, where you activate prior learning and start to hook it to the new instruction. The during is where you're going to be utilizing Sketchpad. So you're either going to be doing it to do a demonstration where you're helping students to identify some new principle, or you're going to have perhaps you and the students engaging simultaneously through a guided tutorial in Sketchpad where they're guided to discover some new principles. So that's your during, and then your after. How do you wrap things up? Will there be some type of conversation where the students are asked to answer some summative questions? Will you give them some type of homework that asks them to tie some principles together? And speaking of such, you do need to fill out an assessment section and attach any worksheets or such that you would give to students. You do need to have both a summative and a formative assessment, at least one of each in every lesson. Formative is a check for student understanding along the way that can include open-ended questions, thumbs up, thumbs down, teacher observation, students handing something in. Summative assessment, that can be through worksheets, homework, exit slips. There's so many different types of summative assessment you can do. You're free to include whatever you think fits into your lesson, but all these pieces need to be included. I have an asterisk by the first three, and it says these elements have to be in the introductory page of your Geometry Sketchpad activity on the actual video. In the previous video, I talked about you need to have 3 or more pages in your actual Geometry Sketchpad lesson or activity. And again, you may not know what that is or how to make more than one page, but don't worry, because I give you a lot of resources for how to do that in the actual Blackboard shell. And what's going to be so helpful to you is the fact that I have included some sample activities from classmates or from students from previous semesters. I'm going to show you where those are at actually now. So we went through the rubric for how you're going to be graded and how um, all the different requirements end up summing to a total of 59 points. Here's your rubric. After the rubric, you are given 4 different YouTube videos to watch, and they correspond, I believe that all of these ones actually correspond to high school lessons, but again, you can have middle school, a middle school lesson or a high school lesson here. A lot of variety is what I'm looking for. So please do not feel just because these samples are all based at a high school level that yours cannot be at middle school. I'd like you to watch these. These are going to show exactly what I'm looking for in your actual geometry sketchpad activity, but also what I'm looking for in your video. And it's going to show you how those multiple pages are integrated and how the first one just gives a nice intro to the whole lesson and shows the Common Core state standards, the objectives, the academic language, all of that. And it's going to make so much more sense. So you're going to take some time and view those this week. Here's an example of that, a sample introductory page for your geometry lesson. This is a page in the actual sketchpad where down here, like you would in Excel, like in Excel there's tabs for different spreadsheet sheets. They would just click on the first one that might just say lesson intro, and it would show the Common Core state standard, the key academic language that the students need to know, your goals and objectives, the grade level, and then the language function. Okay, here's what language function is. It's just the key actions that you would like the students to be able to perform upon completing the lesson. You're using high-level verbs from Bloom's taxonomy, and there's specific ones for math that you hone in on. You notice here it's describing, summarizing, evaluating. I show you in the lesson plan template those that you will specifically be looking at. So let's go to that lesson plan template and talk about each piece. Here it is. So it's uploaded as a separate file in the Blackboard shell, but it's also here too. So you can get it in either place on the actual full-fledged rubric that I'm looking at now, or is that separate file. And you just got to fill this guy out. It's not too difficult. You come up with a title for your lesson, the grade level. You have a learning target. That's your student learning outcome. You want it to start with a verb, and it needs to be measurable, and it needs to identify key academic or mathematical vocabulary in it. So here would be an example. Students will be able to evaluate linear functions by the end of this lesson in real world contexts. That's just one. So I used the verb evaluate. I used the academic language of linear functions in a real world context. What I could also include to make it measurable is say they will be able to evaluate linear functions in a real world context 80% of the time. So you want to attach something, or by completing 4 or 5 problems, something like that, so that you can measure that they are capable of doing this, and you have a benchmark for showing what would show competency or fulfillment of that outcome. Okay, then you are going to include content curriculum focal points. What the heck is that? I give you the website for that. Those are just the National Council of Teacher Mathematics standards, and you're going to pull that right out of Blackboard by going to the website and finding the process or content standard that aligns to the outcome that you're looking to achieve. Your Common Core State Standards, again, I give you the website to navigate to for those, and you will include that here. And any interdisciplinary connections, you just type this out. If you're connecting to something in, let's see, culinary arts, for instance, if you were doing measurement conversion, you would identify that here. Okay, academic language, that's any key vocabulary the students would need to know. Student needs. If you had English language learners, how might you need to adapt your instruction? If you had students with special needs, perhaps a student with dyslexia or dysgraphia, how would you adapt your instruction for that person? You need to identify an adaptation for at least one of these, either for an English language learner or for a special need. If you want to do it for both or multiple, more power to you. I think it's so great to be forward thinking. And specifically as math teachers, we don't get as much training in differentiating instruction for students who have various needs. So this is a good opportunity just for you to learn more. List any materials for both students' needs and teacher needs. If you have anything specific, like the students are going to be using Geometry Sketchpad, you need to make sure you identify that they'll have laptops or iPads, iPad carts. If you have any worksheets that you'd like them to follow along with, you would indicate that here. What different language function will you be utilizing to help these students become emerging mathematicians? Well, you're going to be using words like analyze, argue, describe, evaluate, explain, interpret, justify, synthesize. These are going to be words that you should be using throughout your lesson, and they should be appearing up here in your learning outcomes too. Those are high level in the analyze category of Bloom's taxonomy. And that's the type of learning, high level challenging learning we want our students to be able to achieve. You're going to have a before, a during, and an after section where you fully articulate, firstly, how you activate student prior knowledge, what's your hook, what's your anticipatory set to help scaffold from what the students just learned, your during. This is going to be the geometer's sketchpad activity itself, either where you're demoing or where the students are following along in some guided inquiry-based lesson. This won't take up that much because you're going to identify everything you're going to do in the Geometer Sketchpad video. So you can specify to visit the video and put the YouTube link here, and then it'll be all good. After, this is where you bring the students together and you help them to synthesize all the information, and then where you would also have some type of summative assessment, exit slip, or where you then assign some homework that you like the students to do. And we really discuss the assessment thoroughly here, and you need both a formative and a summative type of assessment. Formative, a check for student understanding, or multiple checks really throughout the lesson. You should always have, honestly, 2 formative assessments because you want to be checking multiple times, and then a summative so you can get a collective understanding of how the students perform. Under resources, you need your assessments actually physically attached. Also, any online resource links. Let's think. Everybody here will have an online resource link. Your online resource link will be the YouTube video for your actual lesson. Okay, so that is everything with respect to the template. I want to go up to the beginning of this again. We only have 2 more minutes to finish this video, so I'm going to talk fast. I want to talk a little bit about the recorded video that you're going to do. You're going to pull up Sketchpad. And when you're in Sketchpad, you are going to do a screencast. You're going to record yourself in there once you have your full lesson already created, all of your pages, and you know exactly how you want to walk through it. You will pull up what's called screencast-o-matic.com. This is screencast-o-matic.com. I am already signed in. If I weren't signed in, let me see if it does it over here. No, it looks the same. There's going to be a login button. You're going to click login, and then you're going to click the button that says create an account. You can create an account from your Google or from your Franciscan. It doesn't really matter. But while you're in here, you click on the button that says start recorder. Now mine's already open. But what it does, it's going to pop up with a box. It's going to appear, think over here, and you can select, do you want to just record your screen? Do you want a little video of yourself in the right hand corner? Do you want it just to be of you? You don't. You want it either to be the full screen or the screen and you. You can do whatever. But you're going to be in Geometry Sketchpad, and you're just going to walk us through the activity that you're going to do and how you're going to do it, types of questions you would ask your students in order to teach them about the concept and learning outcome that you would like them to achieve. When you are done, there is obviously a pause button or stop button at the bottom, and when you click that, it then asks you what you want to do. You could do one of 2 things. You can save it as a video file and then separately upload it to YouTube, or you can upload it straight to YouTube. If you already signed into YouTube, you could do that and it'll go straight there. And once it's fully uploaded, you can watch it, make sure it looks like how you want it to look. And then you're just going to take that actual URL and you'll include it as a resource